Hi, good morning and welcome. This is Seek Sustainable Japan, our monthly series. We missed one in October, but we are catching up. Now it's November 1st in Japan. We almost made one in October, but same kind of season. I'm JJWalsh in Hiroshima, joined by.
Hi, I'm Tova Kinoka in Yokohama.
Now, how is the weather in Yokohama? You had an update on a view of Mount Fuji. What is going on?
I know, right? So this is a picture taken from just up the hill from my house yesterday morning, so 31st of October, and very lovely, as you can see, but no snow on Mount Fuji. And this is the latest since records began 130 years ago that there has not been a snow cap on Fuji-san. So yes, it looks very beautiful still, but this is a worrying sign, right? It's today, 1st of November. It should be covered in snow. This is disrupting the whole ecosystem and the cycles that rely on that. So
Absolutely.
it's yeah.
And I mentioned before we went live, if we were talking in October, still 2 weeks ago, my glasses would be steaming up because it was such a hot October. I
Yeah,
had guests who I was giving tours to, and I had canceled July, August, knowing that was gonna be too hot, but
yeah,
September and October was still too hot.
yeah,
So I had guests saying, "Yeah, if I come back to Japan, I'm not coming between June and October."
yeah,
That
yeah.
is I mean, that's our new reality, and that's really caused by climate change and global warming, which is real, and we need to start finding ways to mitigate these problems, right?
Exactly. Sooner rather than later, we are so behind on this. And to me, it's incredible. We're even still having this conversation about, should we be doing something? And companies are still umming and ahhing about where should they set their goals, and governments are still flip-flopping on things. It's like, come on, the signs are all around us. We need to accelerate this.
Absolutely. And this week, we will maybe have a new president in America who doesn't believe in climate change and supports the fossil fuel industry. So, huge changes ahead. We just had a new government change kind of in Japan.
Mhm.
The whole government in Japan is kind of at a standstill at the moment because the ruling party didn't get a majority. So, we're still waiting to see where Japan stands on
Yeah.
climate progress or lack thereof, in
Yes.
incentives and how we're
Mhm.
going forward with energy. All of those topics we're gonna have to cover, I think, next month because it's still kind
Yeah.
of in flux, right?
Exactly, exactly. It's just wait and see at the moment, and we don't have time to wait. So very frustrating.
Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. Now we had some good news. A good friend of both of ours, James Hollow, his company Fabric in Tokyo, they are now B certified. Now, Tova,
Yes.
can you kind of give us a quick overview? What does that mean, B certification?
So B Corp is a certification that measures the company's social and environmental impact, and it's very, very rigorous. To get the certification is really hard, actually. So Fabric have really put a huge amount of effort into this. You have to be really transparent. You have to actually make legal commitments by changing your company's sort of corporate governance, so you're accountable to all stakeholders, not just shareholders. You've got to really demonstrate high social and environmental performance. And then you get this sort of impact assessment that go through everything very, very thoroughly. So it's really a mark that a company is really taking their responsibilities towards both society and the environment very seriously, and they have achieved a certain standard. And then they can't just get it once and that's it, done, box ticked. They've got to keep demonstrating that commitment. They'll be checked on and I think reassessed in order to maintain the certification. So it's really a big thing. It's a huge achievement. So massive congratulations to James and all the Fabric team. It's really very impressive. And there was a big
Absolutely.
party to celebrate 2 nights ago, so we
Oh,
went and
fantastic.
joined that
It
sort
makes me
of yeah.
sad when I miss out on those things because 'cause I'm so far away, but I'm
Yes!
so happy that, they got it. James was so gracious. My last visit up to Tokyo, he did a bunch of these short video explanations about the strategies they have in place at Fabric. What are they doing to reduce waste, to support community? And it was so impressive. And he was so nice to do those short videos for me. And I think it's a wonderful explainer, like most leaders, maybe they're not confident enough in their strategies, but these are things he talked about. His team has been working on with him. So it's not just top down. It
No,
really
not at
comes
all.
from his staff. It comes from the community. And I think in terms of leadership, that's such an important part of it, right?
Very much. And also the key word you mentioned there, I think, is community. And, in the party 2 nights ago, that was really wonderful to see. There were just people from so many different sort of areas of the sustainability kind of world, if you like, but also just lots of little local businesses that Fabric sort of includes in their community and does stuff together with. They do events on, mending and things like this, and the food, the sort of CSA loop and stuff like that. So they've got an incredible community there that's growing all the time, and they're so welcoming and sort of open and constantly learning from each other, which is a really sort of quite rare and just really wonderful thing to see. So yeah, that's good.
Fantastic. Speaking of building community and talking about diversity and inclusion, such an important part of building our international community and Japanese community health and wellness, is talking about diversity and inclusion of LGBTQ plus community. And there's a great project by Felicity Tilak and Tiffany Rossdale. They have finished episode 1 of their docu-series called We Exist. And now they're doing a Kickstarter to raise money for the episode 2. And it was great talking to them on the show and hearing more about why do this and the learnings they've had from episode 1, why do a Kickstarter, and then the future vision of doing it in different areas of Japan. It's not just a topic for Tokyo.
No.
This is something that includes, of course, communities across Japan. And they have such a great way to get into those stories by doing interviews. Tiffany's going around doing interviews with key people around Japan. So it's a great project. Wonderful to hear about it.
And related to that, so I know Tiffany is going to my daughter's school, actually, Yokohama International School here. Also, great picture to do, I think, either sort of mini screening, or I'm not sure if it's mini or full, for the LGBTQ service group at the school there. And it's going to be open to parents, teachers, and the students as well, and to sort of talk about sort of creating safe space and inclusive environments. So it's wonderful to see them getting out into all these different sort of sectors of society. It's particularly the schools, and starting that sort of education, the open mindset earlier is really, really important. So they're doing fantastic stuff.
Yeah, it's wonderful. They mentioned working with your daughter and her school. So that is fantastic in the program.
Oh, did they? I didn't realize that. Okay, I have to go watch it.
I put the link below.
Wonderful.
Now, Tova, you have been involved in a few interesting projects. You've got one coming up, gender-focused investment. What's this about?
Yes, so this is a collaboration with a really interesting organization called 2X Global. So they, I believe, are based in the Netherlands, but they're kind of a member organization. They work with governments and sort of investment organizations across the world. And they have developed a set of sort of guidelines, if you like, and they have training in how to apply these for companies to ensure that investments are considering the sort of the impact on gender equality. And so it's again, very thorough, a bit like the B Corp in that sense. It's guidelines that governments can use as well as the investors themselves. And so we're going to be doing this event, and it's hosted by LSEG, the London Stock Exchange Group. Tatiana, you can see there, she's had a long-time relationship with Japan. She's based in the Netherlands, but she's coming over and she's the 2X Global Ambassador. So she'll be sort of explaining what the principles and the certification is, and how it can be used to really sort of drive more equality in investment and make sure money's getting to women as well as just the guys. And then we've got some amazing panelists. So we've got Alexis Rockamura from London Stock Exchange Group, but we've also got Mari Kogiso, who's an absolute force of nature in the investment world in Japan. So you can see Alexis there. And also Aya Tsumura with SMBC Trust Bank. And again, she's active not just in the finance world, but in sort of women's leadership generally in Japan as well. So I'm really happy to have them on the panel, and I'm lucky enough to get to moderate the conversation. So really looking forward to that on the 5th of December, and it's open to non-members. So if people listening are interested in gender lens investing and finding out more about that, then please come and join us.
That's great. I've put the link below if anybody's interested to get more information, and of course, sign up if you're in the area. Now, it's great to see what Felicity and Tiffany talked about as allies, right? So
Yes.
not just having women talking, but having men who support women and support empowering equality also talking, and
Yes.
how having both sides is important, right?
Incredibly important.
Yeah.
No, it's really good. And actually, just on that point, I mean, sort of, we hear a lot of people sort of talk about allies for sort of all kinds of diversity. And I think one question that came up when I was at an LGBTQ sort of leadership event back in March or April, I think it was, there was a lot of talk on actually how do you be an ally? And it's not just sort of something you say, yes, I'm an ally, and then really don't do anything further. It's like you've got to actively do stuff to really be able to call yourself an ally. And there was a wonderful example at the Fabric event 2 nights ago when there was a panel discussion, men and women on the panel, which was wonderful. And then it got to the Q&A. And the first 2 questions were from men in the audience. And then James, who was moderating, said, okay, we've had 2 questions from men. I'd really like to, make sure we get a question from some women as well. So just that simple act, he could have gone on taking questions from anybody, but he made that effort to call it out. And we need more of that. I think that active allyship, not just sort of putting it on your CV and then not doing anything about it.
Absolutely. And we see, unfortunately, gender inequality issues around the world. Japan is not an outlier there.
No, not at all.
Many legal and regulation levels, Japan does seem to be a little bit less right than other countries. But we just had in this last election, we had the most women elected ever in Japanese history. So we are improving, which is wonderful to see. Representation is a big part of how is ranked every year.
Yeah.
Gender equality global index, right?
Exactly. So yes, still very slow progress, unfortunately, but it is progress. So
yeah,
we
wonderful.
have to appreciate that. Yeah.
Speaking of building community and renovating old houses, I have had the chance to talk to the amazing Danny and Evan, who have taken over some old houses made into guest houses on Omishima Island, which is along the Shimanami Kaido cycling route. And they just got featured by CNBC, which is major American broadcast network. And so they've gotten a lot more attention. But they're doing such good work. It's not just what they're doing, but again, about community. They are helping keep that community alive. They're bringing a lot of international people into the community, even just learning about renovating old houses and the potential to come over on a working visa, bringing the right kind of new residents to Japan. And to rural areas. There's so many positive knock-on effects. Taking over abandoned farmland and doing organic farming, running, sustainable businesses. It is all connected to what they do. So it's wonderful to see them get some international attention on this.
Fantastic. No, they're doing great work.
Yeah. Now you were involved with another interesting project, CapGemini. What's going on here?
So CapGemini, a very large IT organization, French, I believe. And Paul Beddy, who's one of our key sort of sustainability mafia, as we call it, sort of members in the Tokyo area. You can see on the left in the picture there. So he works there, and his HR director next to him there said they have this Women in CapGemini sort of network, and this month is all about sort of highlighting that and sort of bringing people into talk. So Paul asked myself and two other ladies to come and talk as panelists about sort of just our career as you know, leaders, female leaders, and that journey and things. But being Paul and being part of the sustainability mafia, we were all also sustainability related. So we managed to sneak that into there as well, even though it sort of started off as a conversation about women's leadership. We were, because we're all working in sustainability, we were able to talk about that as well. So that was really great. We got some good questions from the audience, a lot of men in the audience as well, which was really nice to see. Back to your point about allyship. So it was a really good conversation. And the two co-panelists with me there. So Tomoko is a meteorologist. I think you can see her in the center there. The first meteorologist I've ever met, I think. I know many different scientists, but she's the first meteorologist. And she did her PhD on Arctic climate, the impact of climate change in the Arctic. And in the US. And then she's working now for a Finnish company, but based in Japan, tracking weather systems and looking at the impact, sort of working with governments to be able to give warning on things like extreme weather events, flooding, and things like this, wildfires. So they have satellites that track all of that. So it was really interesting hearing about her work, but also she went to a really interesting college in Japan, the sort of meteorological college, and she was, I think, the fifth woman they'd ever had in the college. And when she was there in her cohort, basically, she was the only woman there. And so an interesting experience, as you can imagine. So it was wonderful to hear about that and how she'd sort of always felt she had to downplay. She felt she couldn't sort of express any interest in fashion or anything like that if she wanted to be taken seriously. So she said she felt she had to kind of be really boring, in her words. And now working for this Finnish company, she's just sort of not having to worry about any of that, could just be herself. But really, really interesting person.
Wonderful. Wow, that sounds amazing.
Yeah. And Yuko, the other co-panelist, so she's founder of a company called SustainaSeed. And so her platform connects, well, it's sort of like an ecosystem, if you like, for any sustainability related companies. She really wants to sort of elevate and give visibility to small organizations working in sustainability and startups and so on, and get them on the radar of big companies that can work with them. So she's doing wonderful work there. And again, her journey to sort of get there has been tough. She's done a lot of sort of had to kick through the glass ceiling. She was saying there's no knocking politely. It was sort of kicking and fighting, but she's doing really important work now, I think, to accelerate sustainability in Japan.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful to hear. That was one of the issues in the next kind of ongoing government discussion. It's whether women can keep their name or
Right.
choose to keep their name. That's still under discussion. And then one thing Felicity and Tiffany talked about is certification of same-sex marriage, right? Having these legal rights for diversity and inclusion is a really key part of it. You talked about her kicking and screaming, trying to get, moved up in the company, but on a more impressive, more regulation includes everyone, right? You don't have to fight so hard as an individual if you have those basic rights, right?
Exactly. And actually, we just had, I saw a post from my friend Joshua yesterday on LinkedIn, I think, that we just had another sort of step on the progress ladder, if you like, for LGBTQ marriage in Japan, because there was a court in Tokyo that ruled that the current sort of lack of recognition is a violation of human rights. So we're getting there.
Oh, that's great news. I will try to add the link below if you can find that link to
Yes, I will
share
have
it
a
with us. Thank you so much. On a little bit of a switch gear, I'm always thinking about new products and product design, and I've been hired by JTB and the government to help develop sustainable tours in Miyajima. So I'll be training local people to offer these sustainable tours. Of course, we're focused on more locally made products, highlighting the local trades, the artisans. Also, how can you avoid crowds? So try to get away from the over tourism
Mm.
stress on locals by finding ways around the crowds. Not going to the top places at the busiest times is a no-brainer, right?
Mm.
But also avoiding the crowded shopping areas at the busiest times, right?
Yeah.
And then supporting lesser known
Mm.
shops which are kind of struggling to stay alive, even one block over, right? Even on
Yeah.
the most 5 million people visit this island, only 1,500 people live there. So they started this tourist tax, 100 yen tax, which they're putting into having refill water stations. Yay! And dealing with the garbage. These are
Yeah.
things that really help local people as well. But
Mm.
as part of the tour, highlighting these things. How
Yeah.
does your tax help locals? And that's also good for local people because they sometimes don't know. This is not clearly advertised to them, right?
Right.
And so
Yeah.
it's really exciting new project, and I'll be talking more about that coming up in the next couple months. Um,
Fantastic. Congratulations. That's
oh, thank
really, really
you.
wonderful
Yeah,
news.
really exciting. They'll be selling it from January, February. So we're in the development stage right now.
Yeah.
But one thing that has really come up is the idea of the deer and the health of the deer in
Mhm.
Miyajima and Nara are two famous deer destinations. And in Nara, there's been some cases, like pointed out in this newspaper article, about deer being endangered by cars because people were
Mm.
feeding them outside the cars. And so then they wander into traffic, kind of looking for the next
Yes. Yeah.
snack, feeding them the deer senbei, which has no nutritional value,
Mm.
but it's something tourists want to do. We actually had that in Miyajima and we stopped it.
Mm.
So the rule now is don't feed them, but there has been kind of back and forth about whether locals should feed them natural things in the forest,
Right.
get them used to eating in the forest, hanging out in
Mhm.
the forest. So it's more complex than you realize.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but they are part of the natural system. They are on the sacred island, sacred site in Nara.
Mhm.
So you want to respect the animals and not feed them, but they are eating all the trash and often die because they eat plastic. So it
Yeah.
is part of the tourism problem, right?
Mm.
So yeah, it's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
interesting issue worth exploring a little bit more. Yeah.
Mm.
Um,
Yes.
on a on a different track, I have come across a really wonderful new business for me, based in Tokyo called Kiln. Have you heard of them? Musubi Kiln.
I don't think so. Tell me more about this.
So I've come across it because I'm always looking for good companies with these beautifully written English narratives that really bridge between what the artisans are doing, why
Mhm.
it's of value, and sustainability. And this is really a company worth having. They also do a wonderful blog and journal,
Mhm.
you can sign up for, where they talk about the artisans as well as their products. They say they don't feature any uh, products which don't have a clear connection to how it's made or the
Mhm.
of the trade or supporting local.
Right.
So it really fantastic to be able to find a company like this.
That's brilliant. So that's real transparency then. So you know where it's come from, how it was made, who it was made by.
And
That's just really
the
wonderful.
really good quality English copy. This is
Mhm.
something we often talk about in consulting with destinations. You have a
Yes.
beautiful page in Japanese. You cannot just use translation software. You have to get someone who writes English
Yes.
content well
Mm.
and really conveys the message. It's so different from a direct translation. And this
Absolutely.
this website is so beautifully done. So it's nice to see.
Fantastic. Great example. Raising the bar for
Yes,
everybody.
yes,
Mhm.
yes. Another local product I get a monthly box from, which I want to shout out to, is Vegan Osaka. They have amazing vegan cheeses. Now, this is
Ooh.
rare in Japan. You rarely see any vegan cheeses or meat alternatives. They have, this is me cooking up some of the meat alternatives. It was like a stir fry, like plant-based stir fry. It was so good. And yeah, I mean, one of the challenges they have is the packaging. Everything they
Interesting.
send, it kind of has to still be in plastic because
Yeah.
you have cheese. How do you package it without plastic? If anybody has a good idea, I'm always trying to give them recommendations.
Right.
One idea we had, which we're going to try out, is I send them my containers, my reusable containers, or they send me the first one, and I wash it and send it back, and then they
Yeah.
send it. I mean, it's a little labor intensive for the customer, but that could be an idea. But if you have
Yeah.
any other ideas, please let me know. Um,
Brilliant.
but I was also looking at packaging for toothpaste. Toothpaste packaging drives me crazy. This single-use plastic that doesn't go anywhere. You can't recycle it, right? So
Yes.
here I've been looking for, and I've tried some of these. So you have a biodegradable, compostable paper bag version, where I love to see that. And it doesn't have plastic inside. It has a wax liner. So I've
Yeah.
tried that. That's a good option. Or in glass and aluminum, both of them can be recycled in
Yes.
Japan. We have quite high rates of those. So instead of plastic, which just goes to landfill or it's incinerated, and often it can't be incinerated because it has residue inside, so it has to be landfill. This is something most consumers don't know, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just thinking about the products you use all the time, what might be a better
Yeah.
packaging option? And quite
Yes.
often you get higher value content of the actual product is better as well, right?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I've got the sort of one you showed that was in the aluminum tin, I think. So it's a French brand, the one I use. I can't quite remember the name, but yeah, it's great, and it's actually really good for taking when you're sort of traveling and stuff as well, because it's not going to leak or spurt anywhere. It's a dry powder. So yeah, and it works just as well.
Yeah, awesome.
Mm.
I've been trying to convert my family. This is another issue. Like I'm willing to make these sacrifices
Yes.
in my habits and change
Yep.
things. And my
Yeah.
family's often like, "What? What is go? Where did the toothpaste go?" Yeah, it's powder. Now you dip your toothbrush in it. No,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's an
It's
adjustment there, but
it
that's good
is.
learning as well. You know.
It is. It's we need these sort of behavioral nudges, right? Of sort of making it the easy choice for people, but also there's a mindset shift as well that comes with any of these things, isn't there? That isn't always easy. It's for us where it's our passion. Yep, no
Yeah.
problem at all. But yeah, yes, I have the same issue in my family. I think sort of convincing them sometimes of why are we doing this? And yeah, okay,
Yeah.
it's not always
Home composting was a big one
right.
at our
Okay.
house. I dig it into the garden, and but
Mm.
that was a big adjustment,
Yep.
like don't throw it in the trash, like put it in
Yep.
the compost. And yeah,
Yes.
and then now we're all used to it. It took
Same.
a little time to
Yes.
develop that
Yep.
mindset change.
Ooh, and maybe so related to that, my daughter, as part of one of her subjects at school, was I think in biology. They were looking at organic fertilizers and options, sort of alternatives to chemical fertilizers. And she did an experiment using banana water. So basically, they were just anytime we ate a banana, the peel went in a jar. We topped up the jar with water, and then it sort of soaks out the nutrients from the banana skins. And then we've been using that. I've been using it on my sort of pot plants in the house, and they're looking great. It's really actually so simple. So we've got the compost box that everything else goes in, but the banana skins we've just been putting in this jar with water, and it seems to be a good one. So
Oh,
yeah,
I've never
maybe
heard of
give
that.
it a
That's
try.
a good option.
Yeah,
A nice easy fix if you're trying new
super
things.
easy.
If
Yeah,
you're not worried about slime or like just the conceiving of putting banana peels in water can be a hurdle, right?
it's a bit weird, but actually it doesn't smell. I was worried it might, but I just use a glass jar with a good seal on the lid. It doesn't smell at all. And then when I put it on the plants, I then follow with a bit of water to just sort of wash it down into the soil. And yeah, the plants seem very, very happy with it. So that's good.
Good. Was there anything else we wanted to talk about today on your list? I
I
think I've
don't think
covered
so.
all of mine. I'm adding the links for Musubi-Kiln and same-sex marriage news. Thanks for adding
Yes,
that, Tova.
no problem.
No, that's wonderful.
Very
So we'll
good.
we'll try to have another talk maybe later this month
Yep, we could
or
do that.
yeah. All right. There's a lot going on in November. Autumn colors are coming out.
Yes, just
Hopefully
starting.
for all the people watching as well, hopefully you're starting to see autumn colors, but also beautiful autumn vegetables. Get
Yeah.
out there and enjoy your seasonal autumn vegetables. This is in Japan, they say the best time to eat in the year. Is that right?
Yep.
Have you
Yeah.
heard?
Oh, loving it. So we're enjoying the kaki persimmons at the moment. Eating those every day. They're just so good. So
They're so good fresh and you can dry them and they're
yes.
beautiful dried as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, really good.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Tova. Thanks for everyone for watching. Have a great month.